So for the last year and a half or so, I've had the hashtag New Canadian Forces or New Canadian Army as one of my main hashtags. And I want to explain where that comes from. It's no disrespect to the actual Canadian Forces. It's about the other hashtag I have, which is No Tolerance for Rape. I'm going to read a chapter from my book, Hand of God, that's going to explain my position on rape and the such in the forces. Chapter 7.2, Old Canadian Army Brass. Later that year, Christopher would be invited to his classmate Alan's house to listen to records on Alan's new record player. Christopher asked why Alan's bedroom had what felt like 3 inches or more of foam rubber under the carpet. Alan went beet red and explained it was so it wouldn't make it too much noise when him and his younger brother were roughhousing. They pulled a Beatles record out of Alan's dad's vast collection of vinyl records. There was a certain song that Christopher had heard had a hidden message if played backwards. He noted that song was on this record and that Alan's record player had a rare feature where it could be put in neutral. This allowed the 2 curious young boys to spin the platter backwards and hear in highly garbled English that they should try to smoke marijuana. This advice electrified the boys, not because they cared about trying marijuana, but because it felt like they had discovered a secret incantation that would make that moment memorable for the rest of their lives. The next day, Alan was waiting for Christopher in the trail to Uplands Grove Elementary. This was unusual because Alan lived on the opposite side of the school. He was in a hurry to talk to Christopher. "You know what sexual abuse is, right?" Alan asked his friend in a matter-of-fact manner. Christopher nodded with concern. "Well, my grandpa sexually abuses me." Alan said it in this sing-song voice as if he was telling the punchline to a joke. But this was no joke. Alan explained that the foam rubber under his bedroom carpet was so that the noise made by his grandfather raping him wouldn't keep the rest of the family awake. His mother, father, and grandmother all knew about the arrangement. Presumably, so did Alan's siblings. When Alan complained about being raped by Grandpa, his grandmother explained to him earnestly that if Alan complained too much about being his grandfather's sex slave, that Grandpa would have to go to jail. This would lead to the horrific situation of the family having to bring Grandpa his birthday cake in prison, all because little Alan complained too much. So Alan was guilt-tripped into performing sexually for his grandfather, probably so that no one else in the family was subjected to this abuse. Certainly no one came to Alan's aid. Christopher was shocked. This was very heavy news. When Alan explained that his grandfather was a highly respected member of the Canadian Army, Christopher became very concerned for the large number of his friends, including Alan, who had joined Army cadets and Navy cadets and Air cadets. Was this the kind of man waiting to command Canada's youngest and most vulnerable? So that's a chapter from my book, Hand of God by Anthony Devellano. That particular story is true. Alan's a real person. And what I would like to see within the Canadian Forces that would make them new in my mind would be an explicit vow for every member, vowing that they would never rape anybody, let alone a fellow forces member or a civilian or an enemy combatant. Rape is disgusting, and I will have nothing to do with any organization which sweeps it under the rug.